Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this picture. By understanding the fundamental physics of photographic lighting and applying them in a consistent manner, it's possible to accurately predict the resultant picture. This image was produced following those principles. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so this is the subject. And what I've done is placed this old flat iron on the end of an arm on this C-stand. So it's just an easy way to manipulate it and get it into something like the right position. Okay. So then to capture the image, I'm going to use this full-frame digital SLR with a 24-70 zoom lens on the front of it and a flash sync trigger on the top. Now the camera's tethered into Capture One software, so it's easier to see the results as we go along. Okay, now I've previously placed this tripod in something like the right sort of position. So I'll just pop the camera on the top of that. And I'm just going to wind this up a little. And we'll look through the viewfinder and line up the shot. Just wind that up into position. Somewhere out there should do it, I think. Okay, and now I'm just going to zoom that all the way into the 70mm end on the zoom lens. There we go. I'll just check the focus. Yeah, that seems fine. Okay, so having done that, the next thing to do would be just to grab a blank frame. Now this is quite an important step so that I can make sure that I don't get any contamination from the house lights. So what I'm going to do is just turn the camera on, and the software has recognized the camera, and these are the settings that I have on the camera at the moment. So it's in full manual mode, 1/250th of a second for the shutter speed, which is the flash sync speed for that camera, ISO 100, and an aperture of f8. So with those settings and no flash set, what I'm going to do is just grab an image and it should be blank. There we are. So that just confirms that there's not enough light from the house lights in the studio here to actually illuminate the subject to give you an exposure. That's quite important because that will be the darkest that the image can possibly be. Okay. So now to set a light, what I'm going to do is just light this with a studio head about here somewhere. So I'm going to use this 500 joule battery powered studio head. We'll just pop that up in the air a bit like that. Maybe take it up a bit more. There we are. Okay, so with that in a very rough position, I'm just going to turn that head on. So I'll turn the flash sync trigger on and just select that head and turn it on. There we go. Okay, so just at an arbitrary energy level, I'll just grab an image and we'll just see what we get. Okay, so we can see in this image that it's underexposed, so I need to add some more energy. So I would guess that I need to add about 2 stops. So let's just add 2 stops of energy and see what happens then. Yes, that's more like the right sort of exposure. So if we just zoom in, we can just check the focus. And you can also see from this that it's a very gritty image, which is exactly what I want. Okay, but in the original picture you could see that the background was a graduated colour. Now I achieved that with the aid of this C-stand. So if I just put the arm up on this C-stand, and I'm going to put on here a roll of 216 diffusion material, which is a type of frosted plastic. There we are. Pop that on there. Just take this up in the air. There we are. Now the idea of this is that it will form a sort of screen on which to project the graduation. And what I'm going to do is place a light eventually around the back here. But I just want to put this in place just to check that we can see it properly in the camera. So I'm just going to have a little look. And yes, I can see that from edge to edge in the camera. And just to make sure, I'm just going to temporarily zoom that out a little. There we go. Just to see how close to the edges I am. Okay, good. Right, so now that's in position, what I can do is I'm going to grab another image and we'll see just what happens to that background. There we are. Now you can see in this capture that the background is very evident. Obviously we've lit the subject, but I've also lit the background. Now I could put a flag on this, but an easier way, and in some ways a bit more efficient way, would be just to move the whole light a bit closer in. Now I've obviously made this quite a lot closer to the subject. Therefore, because of the inverse square law, I'm going to need to turn this down, so take some energy out of it. So I added 2 stops before, so I'll start just by taking those 2 stops off. There we are. Now if I grab that again, there. Now you should be able to see that the actual exposure on the subject itself hasn't changed very much, but the exposure on the background has changed considerably. That is due to the inverse square law. Obviously I've taken the energy out of the system, therefore the exposure right back here at the background is a lot less than it was before. But it's still not quite correct. So I'm still going to put a flag on here just to make sure that this goes as dark as possible. So this is just a piece of cardboard with an elastic band on it. And I'm basically just going to pop this on here, just like that. There we are. So with that in position, I'll just grab that again. So that's now taken the residual exposure off the background. So this is what we had before, and this is what we've got now. And that is really what we want. We want this to go as dark as possible. Now actually in doing that and looking at the image, I think this needs a little more energy in it anyway, so I'm just going to add 1 stop on just to evaluate the exposure. Yes, that's a bit more punchy, but the shadows here are very dark and need just filling in a bit. So in order to do that, yet again I'm going to use another piece of card and I'm just going to place this around here somewhere so that I can recycle some of this light back onto the subject. So in order to do that, I'm just going to use another stand. Just place that on there. About there somewhere. I'll just check in the viewfinder just to make sure I haven't got that in the image, which I don't think I have. There, that seems to have done it. So this is what we had before, and this is what we've got now. So you can see the difference that has made. Okay, so the next thing to do then would be to add the graduation on the background. So in order to do that, I'm going to use this studio head, and I'm just going to place this round the back here. Something like that. There we are. So at an arbitrary energy level, and I'll just grab an image. Okay, so straight away we can see that the exposure here is very high, so that needs to come down, I would guess, by maybe 3 stops. Let's take 3 stops out of it and see what happens. There we are. I'll just grab that again. Yes, that's much better. Okay, so now I just need to turn that blue, and to do that I'm just going to use a blue filter. So I'm just going to place this filter on the front of the head, just like that. So with all that in place, we'll just grab that again. Okay, so with the filter on, we have all the elements in place. The subject is lit, we've filled in the shadows, and we've got a nice graduation in the background. But we also have this support. So I need to get rid of that. So the thing to do is to actually take what's known as a blank slate. So what I'm going to actually do is very carefully remove the subject from the image. So I'm just going to get this and just move it out of the way. There we are. I have to be very careful not to touch either the camera or any of the background. Okay, so now with that out of the way, what I'm going to do is grab another image. And that has just given me this blank slate. Now by combining this image with the previous one in post-production, I can end up with the final picture. So that is what I'm going to do now. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and I've loaded up the 2 files of the images that I captured earlier. So this is the iron on the support, and this is just the background. So the first thing to do is to just make a stack of those 2 images. Now I find the easiest way of doing that is just to use the script in Photoshop to load files into stack, add the open files, and just click on OK. There we are. So now I have this stack of these 2 layers with the 2 images on each different layer, like that. So now I no longer need the camera originals, so I can close those. And this is what I will edit. Okay, so to remove this, what I'm going to do is add a layer mask to that layer, like so. And now if I just zoom in, like that, and with a paintbrush, I'm just going to paint in black on that mask, which will hide it and bring through the underlying image, which of course is the blank slate. So if I just do that, there we are. Now when I get close to the actual part I want, I don't need a soft brush anymore. I want quite a hard brush. So what I'm going to do is just harden that up a little and paint in white so I can get the very edge of the subject. There we are. So now just to get rid of the rest of this, I can zoom out and using quite a large brush, which is very soft. There we are. I can just paint the rest of that out. Like so. There. So with that now gone, the last thing to do is just to pick a crop. And I'm just going to use this for video, so I'm using 16:9. And I think I'll just leave that exactly as it is. That looks pretty good to me. So there we have it. So by understanding some basic physics behind the lighting, it's possible to fairly accurately predict just what you're going to get before you actually press the trigger, which can be very helpful to the creative process. Okay, well thanks for watching this video, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other pictures as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and hit the like button. Thank you very much for watching.